What's up, my knights? MTK411 here, and today, guys, we are going over the Spider-Man Brand New Day. We are doing a spoiler-free and a spoiler review in the same video. So, guys, sit back, get your web slingers out, and let's get ready to rock and roll. Spider-Man Brand New Day is everything many Spider-Man fans have been asking for since No Way Home. Instead of trying to outdo the multiverse spectacular, it brings Peter Parker back to its roots. A broke, lonely young man trying to do the right thing, even when life keeps knocking him down, and mixes heartfelt emotion, laugh out loud comedy, thrilling action, and some genuine shocking surprises into one of the MCU's strongest entries in a long time. Now, spoiler free, guys. The movie wisely avoids trying to be No Way Home 2. Instead, it tells a much more personal story. Peter Parker has lost everyone he knew. He's living in a tiny apartment just like all the Spider-Mans, struggling to pay rent, juggling work and college, and spending nearly every waking hour protecting New York. It's a fresh start, but also a lonely one. The story feels smaller and a scale that's much bigger emotionally. Every decision Peter makes has weight, and the movie constantly reminds you that being Spider-Man is both a gift and a burden. There are plenty of surprises along the way, but the film never loses sight of who the main character is. Now, Tom Holland's performance, guys, amazing. I think this is Tom's best Peter Parker Spider-Man performance. Without a doubt, his performance as Spider-Man was perfectly balanced. Awkward college student, sarcastic superhero, and emotionally exhausted young adult. Now, I know he's not technically in college or per se, but I want to say he probably is. I don't know. Yeah. For the first time, though, Peter truly feels like he's carrying the weight of the city on his shoulders. Holland sells every emotional moment without overdoing it, and his quieter scenes are just as powerful as the action. If you're wanting to see a more mature version of Peter Parker, this movie actually delivers. And the comedy, Marvel humor has been a hit or miss lately, but Brand New Day gets it right. The jokes feel natural instead of forced. Peter's awkward interactions, quick one-liners during fights, and everyday bad luck all creates genuine laughs without ruining emotional moments, especially the Punisher. The Punisher was funny. Now, some of the funniest scenes, it came from, just Spider-Man, the Punisher. I mean, it really was. I mean, the comedy just never felt like it was trying too hard, and that's what makes it work. Now, entertainment wise, the movie is simply fun. It rarely slows down for too long, and when it does, those quieter moments actually make you care more about what happens next. The pacing keeps you invested from beginning to end with high energy action sequences, emotional character moments, funny dialogue, mystery surrounding several characters, unexpected twists, and it's one of those movies where 2.5 hours just absolutely fly by. And the action's incredible. The swinging scenes are the best that we've seen in MCU. Spider-Man feels faster, more agile, and more creative than ever before. And honestly, the fight choreography is spectacular, mixing web tricks, parkour, and environmental combat. And there's a lot of first-person web swinging and stuff like that makes you feel like you are Spider-Man. And what I really like, a lot of the fight sequences, the swinging and stuff like that, reminded me of Insomniac's Marvel Spider-Man video game. And I really feel like they took some of that aspect from the video game and put it into the movie. So that was pretty cool. Now, villains, without spoiling anything on this part, the villains are memorable because they're personal threats rather than world-ending monsters. Um, there are the villains are fast. In the first part, we'll get to that in the second part of this video. So it does show you a lot of iconic Spider-Man villains that you like, but in a different way. As far as the main villains and stuff like that goes, we'll get to that. Now, this is where Brand New Day shines, though. The movie understands that Spider-Man has always been about sacrifice. There are several scenes that hit incredibly hard, especially for longtime fans. Peter's loneliness is portrayed in a way that feels real. The film doesn't rely on cheap emotional tricks. It earns its biggest moments because it really does make you feel for Peter. And most of the CGI in this movie is fantastic. The web swinging looks smoother than ever. The city feels alive. Nighttime sequences are especially beautiful, with New York practically becoming its own character. There were a few CGI heavy shots that aren't perfect, but they're minor compared to everything else. Now, no movie is perfect. A few side characters could have used more screen time, I believe. The third act gets a little crowded with everything happening at once. And thankfully, though, none of these issues significantly hurt the experience. So, if you love Spider-Man because of the character, not just a superhero, this movie is exactly what you've been waiting for. It has heart, it has humor, it has incredible action. Most importantly, it remembers that Peter Parker is just as important as Spider-Man. Now, this is your warning right here. Turn off the video now if you do not want to be spoiled. This is your warning. 3, 2, 1. The spoiler review for Spider-Man. The opening. The movie begins where Peter completely alone after the events of No Way Home. Nobody remembers him. Watching him struggle through everyday life while secretly protecting New York immediately sets a much more mature tone. It feels almost like watching an adult coming-of-age story. Now, Peter spends much of the movie questioning whether sacrificing his personal happiness is really worth it. Instead of giving up, he slowly realizes that that helping people, even if nobody knows who he is what defines Spider-Man. It's classic Spider-Man storytelling at its best. Now, big reveals. Several major surprises are kept hidden from the marketing. Character fans weren't expecting to show up. Some familiar faces return. Others completely changed the future at MCU. Without giving away every single twist away, the reveals land because they tie directly to Peter's journey rather than existing only for the fans. Now, if you guys are wondering, Sadie Sink is in the movie. Sadie Sink is Jean Grey. Jean Grey is in the movie, and it's basically her figuring out how strong her actual powers really are. She's looking for X-Max, which was the name of the code name basically for her sister. The company, I cannot remember their name now. Oh my gosh. But that Peter Spider-Man thought were friendly and friends were not. They actually pretty much killed Jean Grey's sister, and Jean Grey is now pissed. She figures out how to use her full potential power and pretty much almost wipes out the whole city by killing them because she was so angry. She is very powerful. The Hulk, we do see him. We do see Dr. Hulk or Dr. Banner, however you want to put it. Professor Hulk, there we go. For a few minutes, they do have a few fight sequences and stuff like that. Actually, parts of the trailer that you thought was the major big Hulk was actually Professor Hulk. And then he realizes, shoot, I can't control this anymore, and he becomes the big, aggressive Hulk that we all love. So seeing the actual real Hulk come back was awesome. I was waiting for him to say Peter, and for Peter to be like, wait, you remember who I am? He'd be like, Banner don't remember, but Hulk never forgets. That's a line in a comic. I was expecting for that to show up. Never did. The fight sequence between Peter, or Spider-Man, and the Hulk was not very long. I was expecting a longer one. And then once the Hulk was gone, they transported him to basically a mental health facility or whatever. Yeah, okay. Now, the Punisher has some good, solid moments in the movie. I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting a lot of surprises in this movie that didn't happen. I was expecting Daredevil to show up at some point. He didn't. Like, there was not even no mention of Daredevil. That was disappointing. The trailer, when it shows Spider-Man jumping, and everyone thought that there was going to be 2 more characters, that was in the beginning of the movie. It was like 10 seconds long, 5 seconds, 3 seconds, actually. So there was nothing there. A lot of the major characters, Scorpion, he was maybe in the movie for a total of 3 minutes. The first part was the real Scorpion. The second part was Jean Grey taking over Scorpion. Tombstone was in the movie for like 2 seconds. Boomerang was in the movie for like 2 seconds, not even joking. And then there was one other that was in the movie for like 2 seconds. It just showed him like fighting them. So that was kind of disappointing. I was expecting some bigger moments with those characters since they are big Spider-Man villains. There wasn't really like any major Spider-Man villains in this movie. Jean Grey's character was technically the main villain, but there wasn't like no serious like Spider-Man villains. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't read very many of the comics, but was Jean Grey ever a threat to Spider-Man? Because I don't know. But yeah, I mean, yeah. I was expecting at some point for there to be a big fight sequence between Spider-Man and Punisher. That did not happen. However, though, Punisher, his only option, because he was outside like the little force field that Jean Grey captured everybody in, that she was trying to kill everybody that was inside the little like telekinesis thing. He did shoot a gun. Peter jumped in front of it because Jean Grey was in his mind figuring out who he really was. And they did have Aunt May in the movie, and she pretty much made Jean Grey feel for herself and make her realize that she doesn't have to be bad and all that stuff. But Frank shot the gun. Peter got in the way. Bullet shot Peter. Um, Everyone's like, oh no, Peter died. I knew Peter didn't die. I was expecting, though, if Peter did die, that a symbiote was going to take over. There was no symbiote in this movie, by the way. The black that you saw in his eyes and all that was him getting his natural Spider-Man powers. It wasn't a symbiote. There was even no hints of symbiotes or venom or anything like that, which was another depressing thing. And with them revealing Jean Grey, I was expecting Charles Xavier or something about the X-Mansion, but yeah, I mean, okay. But even in dangerous situations, Peter can't stop making jokes. The final act, it hits hard emotionally. It does. Peter once again proves that he'll sacrifice everything to protect innocent people rather than relying purely on massive CGI destruction. But the ending leaves with Peter in a stronger place emotionally while still preserving the consequences of the previous movies. There was some sad moments in it, like whenever MJ found Peter's letter that he wrote to her No Way Home, and she's like, hey, I don't have none of those memories. I don't love you. And you could see like the hurt in his eyes. Like he was hurt. And then at the end, he did his little secret handshake with Ned. And Ned's like, Peter, oh my gosh. But he only knew like Peter because whenever he jumped out the window to go stop Jean, MJ was like, Peter, be careful. And that's the only reason why, like, people was like, oh my gosh, he remembers Peter. Nah, it's because MJ literally said Peter in the movie and it clicked. He was like, oh, Peter, you're Spider-Man. So I was expecting like Jean Grey or someone like that to somehow reverse the spell and make them remember who he was. That didn't happen. So they literally have no idea who the heck Peter, I mean, they know who he is now. But MJ has a boyfriend and all that stuff. So really, it's just, yeah, I mean, it was good. I was expecting a little bit more in that aspect, some more surprises and stuff like that. However, though, but there is a post-credit scene at the very, very, very end. The post-credit scenes are among Marvel's, it's a good one. Instead of existing purely for shock value, it kind of builds an excitement for what's coming next while raising several intriguing questions about Spider-Man's future, because you kind of sit there wondering, like, there's so many theories on the post-credit because it's just, we don't know, because I mean, so Ned has his tracker and it shows him where Peter is and all that stuff. So the biggest tease really comes after the credits, because Spider-Man is mysteriously transported into space, which, in my opinion, is clearly setting up his involvement in the next Avengers film, while Jean Grey's future with the X-Men is also sort of hinted at. But the way it does it is Tom Holland's character, going to space, or is it a Spider-Man, aka Tobey Maguire, from the other universe, coming back to like Tom Holland's Earth? Or what my best friend mentioned, is it symbiotes? Could it be Venom and the symbiotes, coming? Like, could that pick up on the Spider-Man tracker? I don't know. Like, I don't know. But I will say, the Punisher, though, John's Punisher isn't simply a cameo. He becomes an unlikely ally to Peter, and Frank pushes Peter towards crossing moral lines when dealing with criminals, and their conversations become one of the most emotional chords of the movie because they were so great. They were. It was great. I was happy. But really, the final battle, the climax, mixes ground spider action with larger MCU elements. While some critics thought the finale became overcrowded, the action still remains spectacular and emotionally driven. But overall, I'm giving the movie a 9 out of 10. Main reason for that, it was great action, great acting, all that stuff. But I was expecting more surprises, more cameos, because everyone knew Sadie Sink's character was going to be in the movie, and a lot of people were hinting, and a lot of people kind of knew it was going to be Jean Grey just because she has the red hair and just the way that the trailer played out and all that stuff. People really put the puzzle together. Showed the Hulk, show the Punisher. There was no like, oh my god moments other than Aunt May being in the movie, but she was just Peter's like inside Peter's mind and all that stuff. So really, there was no like, oh my god, that happened moment like No Way Home. Because No Way Home, like I mean, you had all the villains, you had Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, but I feel like that movie's gonna be hard to top because I don't know if it was just such a good movie or if it was because it was the nostalgia feeling of No Way Home that made it feel so good. But I like the ground Peter in this movie. So it's two different types of Spider-Man movies, but I do still enjoy No Way Home just a little bit more than I did on this one. Like I said, if there was some more surprises, like maybe some more surprise cameos and all that stuff, I would have probably gave it closer to a 10. But with that being said, and with there not being a lot of reveal and stuff like that, I just feel like it wasn't like overly crowded or anything like that. But I feel like there could have been more. But for what it is, it was great. And I always do my thing. Would I watch it again? Absolutely. Would I go back to the theater and watch it again? Probably. But it was a great movie. Definitely go check it out if you're a Spider-Man fan. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Much love. Peace.